Have you ever watched Goodfellas and felt the intensity and risk in every scene? What if I told you that the untold truths behind the making of this film could forever change your perspective? From the perilous situations on set to the unscripted lines that left the cast in disbelief to actual mobsters mingling with the stars. Goodfellas isn't just a mafia movie, it's a true crime story unfolding in real time. Martin Scorsese himself once said, "There were days when I wasn't sure if we were making a movie about the mafia or making a movie with them." Today we're uncovering the untold stories, everything from life-threatening moments on set to FBI interrogations that will blow your mind. Stick with us and you'll never see Goodfellas the same way again. If you're already familiar with the secrets behind this iconic film, drop a 1 in the comments. If you're hearing these shocking behind-the-scenes tales for the first time, comment 0 to show us your excitement. Enjoy the video and don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe to stay tuned for more unbelievable stories. Before Goodfellas became a cinematic masterpiece, it all started with Wise Guy, the groundbreaking non-fiction book by Nicholas Pileggi that chronicles the life of Henry Hill. But the path from page to screen wasn't without its hurdles. The project nearly slipped away due to some incredible challenges. Martin Scorsese confessed, "I refused to read the book when my agent sent it to me. After Mean Streets and Raging Bull, I was exhausted from crime films. I didn't even bother to open the book." The book sat untouched for months until an unexpected twist turned everything around. Scorsese remembered, "At the lowest point in my career, a major studio project fell apart. I decided to call Pileggi at 2 a.m. and told him, 'I've been waiting for this book my whole life.' Pileggi responded, 'I've been waiting for this call my whole life.' However, even with this newfound partnership, they faced fierce resistance. Film studios rejected the project, calling it too violent and lacking a clear central character. In the end, Warner Brothers agreed to take on the project, but their concerns remained high. Scorsese revealed, "We were depicting real criminals, many of whom were still alive, and some were even in witness protection. The studio's lawyers nearly stopped us every week." To navigate these issues, they had to change the characters' names and tweak certain details of the story. However, one of the most unusual challenges they faced was that Henry Hill, the central figure of the story, was banned from visiting the set due to his witness protection status. Despite the restrictions, Henry Hill couldn't resist the urge to see his life unfold on screen and made several secret appearances on set. The script for Goodfellas was shaped through an intense and unconventional partnership. Scorsese and Pileggi worked tirelessly, often putting in 15-hour days. Pileggi recalled, "I would recount stories from my research, and Scorsese would pace back and forth, constantly interrupting me. Every story, every detail was crucial to him." Together, they approached Goodfellas like a documentary, meticulously weaving every element of the story with intricate narration. Ray Liotta's path to landing the role of Henry Hill in Goodfellas was anything but ordinary. He shared, "I stalked Scorsese, he laughs and admits it. I approached him at a restaurant, then at a film festival. I almost got caught the third time, but I knew I was Henry. I could feel it in my bones." Initially, the studio had their eyes on big names like Tom Cruise and Alec Baldwin, but casting director Ellen Lewis revealed that Scorsese was unwavering in his decision to cast Ray. He believed Ray possessed the perfect blend of charm and the underlying danger that was reflected in his sharp, intense eyes. He's Henry. Scorsese insisted, though, this decision was only made possible because they had already secured De Niro and Pesci. De Niro, who portrayed Jimmy Conway in the film, brought an almost obsessive dedication to his role. Pileggi recalls a particularly intense moment when De Niro called Jimmy Burke the real-life figure upon whom Conway was based while he was in prison. The guards stopped the call as soon as they realized who was on the other end because it involved federal crimes in communicating with certain inmates, Pileggi remembers. But De Niro wasn't deterred by the legal implications. His sole focus was on immersing himself in the character, ensuring he fully understood the man he was bringing to life on screen. But the challenge wasn't just about acting. The authenticity of Goodfellas came at a steep price. Pileggi revealed that some of the technical advisors refused to disclose their real identities, and Scorsese had to step in to explain insider details like how money moved through the system and the actual criminal methods used by the mafia. Certain scenes, such as how to slice garlic with a razor blade or how to use a whip without leaving marks, weren't things that could be learned from books. These were skills passed down by individuals with first-hand experience in the world of crime, ensuring that the film's portrayal was as authentic as possible. All of this effort added to the chilling authenticity of the film. However, one of the biggest challenges came with the fact-checking process. Pileggi recalled that some scenes in the script were sent to the people who were directly involved in the events being portrayed, and they would often return with changes. No explanations needed, it was just that things didn't happen this way. We made changes without question, Pileggi shared. This attention to detail added layers of complexity to the film, which made its storytelling dynamic, fragmented, and subjective, creating a tense and unforgettable cinematic experience. Scorsese explained that the style of Goodfellas had to mirror the mindset of Henry Hill, a grown man, paranoid, addicted to cocaine, and constantly living in fear, always looking over his shoulder. When the pre-production phase ended, the gravity of what we were doing became clear. We were portraying killers at a much lower cost than a negative character in a typical film, Ray Liotta recalled. There was no security on set. Anyone could walk in. Goodfellas wasn't just another mafia movie. It was a raw, daring exploration into the world of crime and the lives of those who could easily become real-life gangsters. Ray Liotta, who played Henry Hill, shared a pivotal moment from the filming process. He recalled, "I started checking under my car before driving home. The book that Scorsese almost never read quickly became the film he was born to make. But the real challenges were just beginning. One actor's improvisation sent shockwaves through the entire nation, and two famous words became iconic in film history, even though they were never in the script. One of the most memorable scenes was when Joe Pesci shifted from laughing hysterically to becoming a deadly threat in just a few seconds, a moment that left everyone on edge. This moment was entirely unscripted and came from a real-life experience of Joe Pesci. Joe told us a story from rehearsal. When he was young, he worked at a restaurant and told a gangster that he was very funny. The gangster didn't take it as a compliment, and the atmosphere immediately shifted. Joe thought he might die right there. Scorsese recognized this as the crucial moment, the sudden shift from laughter to terror, exactly how it would feel in the world of real gangsters. This scene wasn't what had been rehearsed, but it perfectly captured the unpredictable, dangerous nature of their lives. Scorsese and the production team deliberately kept the actors in the dark about what was coming, creating an atmosphere of genuine tension. "We didn't tell the other actors what was about to happen," Ray Liotta confirmed. "The actors' anxious reactions and the palpable tension were completely real. They genuinely feared that Joe might lose control." This approach became a template for many scenes throughout the film. Scorsese also refrained from giving the actors specific directions. Lorraine Bracco, who played Karen Hill, recalled, "I received one direction, Ray received another. Completely opposite directions. This unconventional method added to the raw, unpredictable nature of Goodfellas." The confusion and tension that resulted from this method were exactly what Scorsese wanted to capture on screen. Each scene was built on raw tension and improvisation. One of the standout moments was when Tommy used a pistol to strike the restaurant owner. "We choreographed this scene very precisely. Then Joe asked, 'Can I just do it? Let's shoot it in one take, no rehearsal.'" Everyone's faces in that scene were genuinely shocked, Scorsese recalled. Another iconic example of improvisational editing was the famous Layla scene, where a dead body is discovered in a car, a garbage truck, and a freezer. Thelma Schoonmaker, the film's editor, explained that the murders were filmed separately, and the editing concept came together organically during the editing process itself. "We had to restructure the entire middle part of the film around this perception," Scorsese shared, discussing the shift in approach. This was especially true for the paranoid, cocaine-induced scene known as Henry's last free day. The scene wasn't in the script. It was a sketch built around Henry's real-life experience. Scorsese explained, "I wanted to create a sense that we were directly experiencing Henry's mental breakdown." The iconic helicopter tracking shot also wasn't in the script. It came from a real-life issue. Scorsese revealed further grounding the scene in the raw, chaotic reality of Henry's spiraling mind. They aimed to capture Henry's escalating paranoia while still covering a broad range of the storyline. The seamless shots helped create the feeling of being trapped, with events spiraling out of control at a dizzying pace. Liotta shared that these scenes weren't just about acting. "I stayed up for days, not because of drugs, but just from lack of sleep. The method acting went too far. By the later scenes, I was hallucinating between takes. Perfect for Henry's mindset, but dangerous for my health." This intense approach led to moments that felt shockingly authentic. One of the most intense moments occurred when Karen Lorraine Bracco pressed a gun to Henry's Ray Liotta face while he was sleeping. Bracco recalled, "Ray's fear was real. I wasn't allowed to pull the trigger during rehearsal, but I did. The gunshot woke him up. His reaction was half-conscious, confused, terrified. That's what Marty kept in the film." In an even stranger twist, Henry Hill himself was calling the film crew throughout the making of Goodfellas. Ray Liotta shared that Henry violated court orders and studio regulations, repeatedly calling and taking notes during the filming process, adding another layer of authenticity to the story. "I wouldn't do it that way. I wouldn't say it like that," Henry Hill would often comment. Despite this, Ray began incorporating Henry's suggestions without informing anyone, and some of his lines were actually stuffed in by the real Henry. This led to one of the most famous improvisations in the film, the ending, when Henry breaks the fourth wall and speaks directly to the audience. Initially, they shot a more traditional ending, but Scorsese admitted that it didn't resonate. The night before the final shoot, he decided to rewrite the ending, having Henry speak directly to us, reflecting on the life he lost, but still unable to fully grasp what went wrong. Ray delivered an exceptional performance in just one take, generating chaos while still maintaining control, embodying the raw energy that makes Goodfellas feel so alive and dangerous, always keeping you on edge even after multiple viewings. Scorsese reflected on his filmmaking approach, saying, "We didn't make the film in a traditional way. We were capturing lightning in a bottle. This method introduced danger and unpredictability, but when it clicked, it produced unforgettable moments. While Hollywood crafted its own version of the mafia, the real gangsters simply stood on the outside observing." Sometimes they would just appear without names or clear intentions. Joseph Reedy, the assistant director, recalled they'd watch a scene nod and sometimes suggest small changes like, "A real wise guy would hold a cigarette like this." These individuals weren't part of the film crew, but their presence was vital in adding a layer of authenticity to the film. "Rumors about what we were shooting spread," Scorsese explained. As word got out, those with real connections to the criminal world became intrigued, and occasionally they were the ones who provided crucial details that enriched the film's realism. These encounters became an essential part of the filmmaking process. Ray Liotta recalled a memorable moment while he was practicing Henry's gestures between takes. An old man, not a member of the crew or security, approached him and said, "Henry's left hand twitches when he's nervous, not his right." Ray, curious, asked how he knew, and the man simply smiled before walking away. "I never saw him again." These are the kinds of details that only those who truly lived in that world would know. Another iconic moment came when Henry and Karen walked through the kitchen at the Copacabana restaurant, a scene that perfectly captured the tension and allure of the mafia world. Ray revealed that during rehearsal, a kitchen staff member pulled him aside and shared insights about how Henry moved who he greeted and how the staff reacted to him. Later, Ray discovered that the man had worked at the Copa since the 1970s and had actually been there witnessing the very events the film depicted. Lorraine Bracco, who played Karen Hill, recalled a fascinating encounter while she was studying her character at a restaurant in Little Italy. A woman approached her, not introducing herself, but simply saying that Karen was more stylish than Lorraine was portraying. "She told me details about how Karen dressed, how she wore her jewelry." Lorraine shared, offering a glimpse into the kind of authenticity that shaped the film. It was only later that Lorraine realized the woman she had spoken to was someone from the actual mafia community, not an outsider. These encounters, whether accidental or intentional, provided profound insights into the criminal world and the characters the film was portraying. From the smallest details, those involved helped elevate the authenticity in every scene of Goodfellas. The film stood out not only for its plot and performances, but also for the meticulous attention to detail in props and costumes. Costume designer Richard Bruno recalled, "We had visitors comment on the accuracy of the watches, pinky rings, and tie styles. Every element, down to the smallest accessory, was crafted to create a genuine representation of the mafia lifestyle." One intriguing detail occurred when a man stayed silent throughout the tour, only to stop at a suit rack, point to one, and say, "Jimmy wouldn't wear that color." Without hesitation, the crew switched the suit to better align with the character of Jimmy's persona. This moment perfectly exemplifies how the film crew was dedicated to achieving authenticity in every aspect, from costumes to props. Another memorable aspect of Goodfellas was the iconic line, "Never rat on your friends," which generated unexpected reactions, emphasizing the film's commitment to real-life details and its exploration of loyalty within the mafia world. After filming Robert De Niro, Jimmy carefully shared that someone connected to the crew pointed out that Jimmy, the character he portrayed, wouldn't be so direct. He'd make the same point, but in a more subtle way. As a result, they decided to reshoot the scene, opting for a more nuanced approach to better capture the character's psychological complexity. These adjustments made the story feel more alive and authentic than ever before. Joe Pesci, who had grown up close to the mafia world, became the bridge between reality and the screen. He explained, "Old neighbors would call pass-along messages, highlighting how deeply the real world influenced the film's portrayal." Make sure you get this right. It's not a threat. Exactly. Call them strong suggestions. Pesci's words perfectly captured the essence of the performance, maintaining a sense of plausible deniability and leaving the audience uncertain whether it was real or simply part of the story. Producer Barbara DeFina emphasized that these individuals weren't official advisors, just people who happened to visit the film set. "We didn't ask for identification," she shared, creating a surreal production environment where advice from those with real-life experience became one of the most crucial elements in perfecting the film. One of the most famous scenes in Goodfellas is the cooking scene in prison, where the characters prepare a meal with meticulous techniques such as slicing garlic with a razor blade. Paley, a member of the film crew, recalled, "We were given detailed instructions on how they actually prepared the meals, slicing garlic with a razor blade, and what they cooked. These weren't fictional details. They were real practices shared by those who had experienced that lifestyle." However, what was particularly concerning was that these authentic technical moments sometimes turned into confessions within the film, revealing aspects of the criminal world that were often hidden from the public eye. Scorsese recalled that sometimes the audience would watch a scene depicting a specific crime and inadvertently spot a detail that the film crew had gotten wrong. These details weren't in the book or court records, but were only known by those involved in the real events. This created a moral fragility in the production process, as the line between research and complicity was sometimes dangerously thin. Scorsese admitted, "We didn't glorify these people, but we needed to understand them to depict their world accurately." This approach reflected a significant ethical challenge when the film was released, as it walked a fine line between portraying a brutal reality and unintentionally romanticizing it. When the characters in the film, under various aliases, attended the premiere, the famous tracking shot at the Copacabana, where Henry and Karen walk from the street to their table, became an iconic 3-minute uninterrupted journey in cinema. This shot wasn't just a showcase of the camera technique. It was crafted to illustrate Henry's unique power and how the world truly parts before his eyes. Scorsese explained, "This is how he breaks through the normal rules and how the world around him changes." The shot symbolized Henry's ability to manipulate his environment, showcasing his influence and the allure of his mafia lifestyle in a single, seamless movement. This scene stands out not only for its technical brilliance, but also for how it conveys Henry's power and control in the world he inhabits. The famous tracking shot at the Copacabana, where Henry and Karen walk through the kitchen, is one of the most unforgettable moments in Goodfellas. Cinematographer Michael Ballhaus recalled, "We rehearsed all day, shot 15 times. None of them were perfect. This shot demanded nearly impossible precision. The camera operator had to navigate through narrow corridors while maintaining flawless framing, his hands drenched in sweat as he executed the complex movement." This level of technical mastery helped immerse the audience in Henry's experience, making the moment feel visceral and real. The solution came from an unexpected level of precision. "We measured every step, marked exactly where each foot would land," Ballhaus explained. "Every movement from the moment the door opens to the characters walking was choreographed down to the second, much like a ballet. Even the smallest mistake could ruin the entire shot. This meticulous planning set a new standard for long takes, and according to Scorsese, influenced a trend in serious films following Goodfellas." However, Scorsese emphasized that his film always maintained its character and storyline, ensuring that the technique wasn't showcased for its own sake, but served to deepen the audience's connection to the characters and their world. That's the big difference with Goodfellas. Another complex shot was the helicopter scene, which portrays Henry's cocaine-induced paranoia. This was one of the most challenging aspects of filming. Thelma Schoonmaker, the film's editor, explained, "We needed to depict Henry's unraveling mental state while maintaining coherence in the story." The solution was to adjust the pacing of the editing to mirror the character's escalating panic. As Henry's day spirals out of control, the shots became faster and more fragmented, mirroring the chaos and disarray in his mind. This editing technique helped immerse the audience in Henry's frantic experience, enhancing the tension of the scene. Scorsese recalled, "We shot that day from every angle imaginable. Close-ups of the dashboard, helicopter blades, rear-view mirrors, cooking scenes, and sorting drugs, hundreds of camera angles were used for a series of scenes that played out over several minutes on screen. These innovations were not just in the way the scenes were filmed, but also in how they were edited to convey the realistic unraveling of the character's mental state." Another distinctive feature of Goodfellas was its use of popular music. Skip Leaves, the sound designer, shared, "We created what we called flashbang sound, a technique designed to heighten the sensory impact of certain moments in the film, amplifying the intensity and chaos Henry was experiencing." You hear the dialogue from the next scene before you see it, as if Henry's thoughts are racing ahead of his eyes. This technique creates a sense of fragmented consciousness mirroring the character's paranoid state. The use of popular music throughout the 3 decades depicted in the film presented both artistic and technical challenges. Scorsese noted, "No film had ever used so much popular music before. The process of securing music rights alone nearly overwhelmed the production, but the end result was a groundbreaking cinematic experience that delivered a raw sense of authenticity and power, immersing the audience in Henry's chaotic world." The famous violent scene in Goodfellas, where a gun is used in a shocking way, was meticulously choreographed to match the escalating rhythm of the music. Music producer Maker shared, "In fact, we adjusted the speed of the scene slightly to fit specific rhythms." These adjustments required groundbreaking technical solutions that had never been used before in filmmaking. Do you think the combination of music and cinematography in Goodfellas helped elevate it to a cinematic masterpiece? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like if you agree, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more fascinating stories and secrets behind other classic films. It created a perfect blend of action and music, amplifying the tension and power of the scene. Ultimately, the aging effects on the characters over 25 years, a crucial element of the film, required groundbreaking innovations in makeup design. These changes allowed the audience to experience the transformation of the characters while also reflecting the passage of time in the criminal world depicted in Goodfellas. The technical innovations in makeup and character design played a vital role in maintaining the film's authenticity, ensuring that every moment felt grounded in reality and true to the narrative. Makeup designer Alan Weisinger shared a major challenge in recreating the authentic aging of the characters in Goodfellas. We couldn't rely on obvious aging prosthetics. These characters age in a unique way different from regular people. The stress, the overload, and the violence make them age in a special manner. Instead of using traditional aging techniques, the team meticulously studied photographs of real-life gangsters who had experienced the aging process, aiming to understand how a life of crime affects both the body and the mind. This approach allowed them to capture the subtle yet powerful transformation of the characters over time, adding another layer of realism to the film. Production designer Christy Zia shared another challenge. The film shifts from 1955 to 1980, and it's not just about the different cars and costumes. It's about the different textures of the world, the glamorous 50s, the flashy 70s. To depict the passage of time, the film crew created specific color palettes for each era, carefully chosen to convey the subtle flow of time. These weren't just superficial changes. They reflected the shifts in lifestyle and mindset of the characters over the decades, helping to immerse the audience in the evolving atmosphere of each period. Scorsese emphasized that Goodfellas didn't rely on traditional voiceover narration to explain the actions. We needed Henry's voice to echo in your head, sometimes contradicting what you're seeing, sometimes in the middle of a sentence, then shifting to Karen's perspective, he explained. This approach required precise sound mixing to create the sensation that you were diving into the character's subconscious, rather than just hearing a storyteller's voice. This revolutionary storytelling technique helped forge a deeper empathy for what the characters were experiencing. Additionally, Scorsese and cinematographer Michael Ballhaus chose to shoot Goodfellas in a 1.851 aspect ratio instead of widescreen, a decision that brought the audience closer to the action, creating a more intimate and immersive experience. Ballhaus explained that choosing the 1.851 aspect ratio created a more claustrophobic space, reflecting the psychological reality of characters living in a confined world despite their wealth. This aspect ratio helped the audience feel the suffocation in the lives of the gangsters, making the space feel tense and cramped. One of the notable innovations in Goodfellas was the use of the freeze frame technique. Scorsese explained, "When something shocking happens, sometimes your mind freezes the image." This shot was designed to replicate the nerve-wracking sensation Henry experiences when confronted with shocking moments, freezing time in a way that deepens the emotional intensity and impact of the scene. The use of freezing the action at key moments allows the audience to fully experience the character's emotions, almost like a sudden jolt in the mind. The music in Goodfellas also plays a crucial role in conveying the film's emotional tone and rhythm. Music producer Skip Leaves shared, "We created something we called flashbang sound. You hear the dialogue from the next scene before you see it, as if Henry's thoughts are racing ahead of you. This technique creates the sense of a mind unraveling, mirroring the chaotic thoughts and spiraling mental state of Henry, while also intensifying his breakdown. The combination of visual techniques and sound design immerses the audience in the character's disintegrating reality." Goodfellas didn't just change the way films were made, it also revolutionized the way acting was performed. Scorsese admitted that the technical challenges nearly overwhelmed the crew, but they succeeded in creating a film that had never existed before. "We didn't just depict a life, we made you live that life in 2 hours," he shared. The performances in Goodfellas not only earned widespread praise, but also set new standards for acting on screen. What stands out about Goodfellas is the absence of sentimental emotions, in the performances maintaining a raw and real portrayal that mirrors the gritty world the characters inhabit. This unfiltered approach allowed the actors to fully embody their roles, making the film feel immersive and authentic. Scorsese emphasized, "No one wants the audience to sympathize. No one softens these characters to make them likable." It is the coldness and decisiveness in the performances that made the film stand out, with each character exuding a strength and bluntness that is undeniable. Ray Liotta, who played Henry Hill in Goodfellas, took a unique approach in portraying his character. He shared, "I don't judge him. I'm not playing him as good or bad. He's just a guy telling the story through his own twisted logic." This nuanced perspective allowed Liotta to capture Henry's complexity, making him neither a hero nor a villain, but a product of his environment driven by his own flawed perception of the world. The audience decides for themselves whether he's worth sympathizing with. This approach, free from judgment and simply presenting the character authentically, created an unsettling yet deeply real feeling for the audience. Liotta didn't try to make Henry likable or pitiable. Instead, he showed us Henry's enjoyment of the criminal life, the glamour, the power, and the access. Scorsese remarked that the lack of moral struggle in the character was what made the performance both terrifying and authentic. It created a Henry that the audience couldn't ignore, but also couldn't easily sympathize with, forcing them to confront the complexities of his actions without the comforting crutch of moral clarity. Tommy DeVito, played by Joe Pesci, is one of the most terrifying characters in Goodfellas. Pesci made unpredictability his weapon, crafting a character that was always full of surprises. The fear you see in the scenes is often real. They didn't know whether I was going to whisper or shout, be silent or explode. Pesci revealed about the preparation process. He practiced emotional shifts, going from joy to rage in an instant, without changing scenes or giving any warning. Scorsese recalled he would practice in front of a mirror, laughing uncontrollably, then immediately transform his face into a murderous rage. This ability to shift so dramatically made Tommy a character who kept everyone both on and off screen constantly on edge. The famous shine box scene is a perfect example of the power of this technique. Now go home and get your shine box mother. Pesci delivered a completely unexpected shock, turning the scene into an explosive moment. Frank Vincent, who played Billy Batts, sensed something was about to happen, but couldn't predict the intensity of Tommy's outburst. This scene captured the essence of a situation escalating out of control in a way that couldn't be faked, depicting the criminal world as one always filled with danger, unpredictability, and constant surprises. On the other hand, Robert De Niro's Jimmy Conway presents a different kind of threat, the terrifying power of silence. Jimmy's control is felt in his stillness, where the lack of words or visible emotion can be even more menacing than an outburst. The danger of Jimmy comes from his eyes, from the smallest of his expressions, Scorsese noted. De Niro understood that true power didn't require shouting. He hardly raised his voice throughout the film, yet his presence was overwhelming. De Niro's immersion into the character was complete. He counted money like they did, looking at the bills in the same direction with the same denominations, Paley recalled. This was a special detail, as De Niro wasn't just acting. He had absorbed the lifestyle of the character, making even the mundane task of counting money a reflection of the world he was portraying. It was this level of dedication that brought a chilling authenticity to Jimmy Conway's character. De Niro conveyed a Jimmy who wasn't just a fictional character, but a real person living in the criminal world depicted in the film. He didn't need to make Jimmy likable or approachable. His silence alone was enough to create a palpable sense of threat. Lorraine Bracco, who played Karen Hill, brought a completely new approach to portraying the mafia wife. "I refuse to make her a victim or a mere seductive prop," Bracco affirmed. She didn't want Karen to be just another accessory in the world of gangsters. Karen wasn't innocent or weak. She embraced the lifestyle, the power, and the identity it gave her. This empowered portrayal gave Karen a depth that defied traditional mafia wife tropes, making her an integral and complex character in the narrative. Karen is not just a wife drawn into a life of crime. She makes a clear choice and is fully aware of it. This adds a layer of uncomfortable moral complexity, as Karen is not merely a victim of this world, but an active participant in it. "We wanted to show that corruption isn't limited to men," Scorsese shared. This approach gave Karen's character a new depth, making her one of the most powerful and complex figures in Goodfellas. Scorsese explained that Karen, as portrayed by Lorraine Bracco, is not simply a woman caught up in the world of gangsters. She actively embraces it, which makes her role in the story far more intricate and nuanced than typical portrayals of women in mafia films. She exploits her position, enjoying the privileges it brings, while turning a blind eye to the violence. Lorraine Bracco, who portrayed Karen, refused to simplify the character's morality. Karen isn't horrified, she's stimulated by it. Bracco commented on how Karen reacts to danger and conspiracy. She's not just a victim of the criminal world, it's that very world that draws her in. This reflects a troubling truth about why some women are attracted to men in this world, a reality that most films tend to downplay. Karen's attraction to this lifestyle is a complex blend of power, excitement, and identity, making her character not just an accessory to the story, but an active participant in the world of Goodfellas. Goodfellas doesn't shy away from this truth. Instead, it portrays it authentically. Paulie, played by Paul Sorvino, created a new archetype for depicting gangland leadership. Scorsese explained, "Paulie understands that true power lies in a chilling calm. Paulie rarely speaks, and when he does, it's often in whispers, never offering explanations. Yet with the smallest gestures, you can still feel his absolute control over the people around him." Sorvino's physical transformation is also remarkable, as his presence on screen is both imposing and understated perfectly, capturing the quiet yet immense power of Paulie's character. His performance underscores how true authority in the mafia is not about loud commands, but the subtle dominance that can shape the entire environment around him. He revealed, "I found Paulie in my eyes. I often held my facial muscles in a certain position, almost motionless. After weeks, I discovered I could make my eyes empty with no emotion showing through. That's when I knew I had found him." This subtlety in his acting allowed Sorvino to create a powerful character in Paulie without the need to shout or demand attention. Scorsese emphasized that in Goodfellas, no one tried to grab their own Oscar moment. The actors all understood that they were living in an ecosystem, a specific social structure with unspoken rules. This collective understanding of their roles within the larger narrative made their performances even more compelling as each actor played their part in a cohesive, interconnected world. "The most important thing is the actor's willingness to be truly unlikable," Scorsese remarked. "These characters are not ones the audience can easily sympathize with. They are charismatic, yet destructive. They don't soften themselves to make the audience feel comfortable. Instead, they live truthfully to who they are, even if that truth is uncomfortable." The authenticity in Goodfellas is reflected in the small details of the characters' performances. Ray Liotta, for example, studied how Henry Hill holds his cigarette, how he uses his hands when speaking, details that Paley recalled. These nuances helped bring the characters to life in a way that felt raw, real, and unfiltered, capturing the harshness of the world they inhabited without glossing over their flaws. Niro noted that Jimmy never touched his food, always using a fork even when eating bread, which highlights the meticulousness in portraying the characters not just through dialogue, but through every small action in their daily lives. These choices weren't just acting decisions, they were ethnographic observations, carefully researched details meant to create a more authentic character portrayal. The actors' dedication influenced every aspect of the production process. They wouldn't say a line if it didn't feel genuine, and this commitment also reflected Scorsese's approach to filmmaking. For him, every detail mattered in crafting a film that felt as real and immersive as possible, ensuring that even the smallest actions added depth to the characters and their world. He portrayed the characters not from a personal ego, but from a deep sense of responsibility to the truth. Goodfellas is not just a story about gangsters, it's a journey into their minds and their world where every detail serves a purpose and has truth behind it. Joe Pesci once said that Tommy, the character he played, would never present himself in a conventional way. And that's absolutely true. The dedication of the actors in Goodfellas gave the film a documentary-like feel rather than just being about performances. Scorsese explained, "They embodied these people so completely that the line between actor and character temporarily disappeared." This level of immersion created a powerful authenticity, making the audience feel as if they were living in the same world as the characters. This created a shift in how we perceive acting on screen. The characters in Goodfellas didn't need to be likable or heroic to captivate the audience. Instead, their moral complexity became the compelling factor, marking a major turning point in the film industry. After Goodfellas, Scorsese noted that expectations for outstanding performances on screen fundamentally changed. Authenticity replaced likability as the core value. The film not only succeeded commercially, but also left an everlasting legacy in cinema, influencing the portrayal of characters and performances in countless films that followed. Goodfellas set a new standard, proving that true emotional depth and honesty could create a more engaging and memorable cinematic experience than conventional heroism or likability. When Goodfellas was released in 1990, it changed the language of filmmaking, influencing major works that followed, such as The Sopranos, Pulp Fiction, and modern television. Barbara DeFina, the producer, recalled, "We started getting calls from young filmmakers not about meetings or jobs. They wanted to know how we did it, the techniques, the style. It was as if we had discovered a new cinematic language." Goodfellas was not a blockbuster in the traditional sense, but with a domestic gross of $46 million compared to a budget of $25 million, the film exceeded commercial expectations and established itself as a cultural touchstone, proving that innovation and authenticity could resonate with both critics and audiences alike. Scorsese recalled how executives had initially opposed the film due to its violence, moral ambiguity, and structure. Suddenly, they became visionaries supporting the acceptance of artistic risk, Scorsese said with a wry smile. The decisions that were once criticized became key elements helping the film achieve great success and set new standards in the filmmaking industry. One of the groundbreaking aspects of Goodfellas was its non-linear storytelling, a technique that film scholar David Thompson noted became an important tool for character development. This non-linear approach allowed the audience to experience the chaotic, fragmented lives of the characters, enhancing their emotional complexity and making the narrative feel more immediate and visceral. Before Goodfellas came out, non-linear storytelling was considered more of an artistic approach. But after Pulp Fiction gained popularity, Goodfellas proved that this technique could succeed commercially. The fragmented time structure, with its jumps forward and backward, opened up new possibilities in storytelling, demonstrating that unconventional narrative methods could resonate with mainstream audiences. The impact of Goodfellas on the cast was immediate and personal. Ray Liotta admitted, "I couldn't be cast in anything other than a gangster role for many years." The film shaped the careers of its actors, defining the roles they would be associated with and changing the way they approached roles in the future. It cemented their place in cinematic history, but also created a lasting typecasting effect, particularly for those who embodied such iconic, complex characters. They didn't just play characters, they lived in the world of criminals, taking the audience on a raw and unforgettable journey. Joe Pesci admitted that his career changed completely after playing Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas. "I went from a supporting actor to a star," he shared. Pesci's convincing performance not only drew the audience's attention, but also caught the eye of casting directors, helping him rise to become one of Hollywood's top actors. However, Pesci also reflected on the complexity this role brought. People expected Tommy DeVito to take over. They would be disappointed if I wasn't a little crazy. The intensity and unpredictability of Tommy became such an iconic part of Pesci's image that it shaped both his career and public perception, making him synonymous with characters that embodied raw, uncontrollable energy. The role followed Joe Pesci everywhere, affecting both his career and personal life. Lorraine Bracco, who played Karen Hill, also faced her own challenges. She wanted to explore the complexity of Karen's character, but was often labeled as simply the mafia wife. "I didn't want to be the woman who just says, 'Be careful with your gangster husbands.'" That was frustrating. Bracco shared. However, Goodfellas helped elevate Karen beyond the stereotypical role of simply supporting the male character's stories, allowing her to become a crucial part of the world the film depicted. Karen's character was given depth and agency, transforming her from a passive figure into an essential force within the narrative, a rare portrayal for women in mafia films. Martin Scorsese remarked that before Goodfellas, crime films were often fictional stories embellished with glamour or simply offered moral lessons. In contrast, Goodfellas portrayed both the allure and destruction of the criminal lifestyle, simultaneously making it both captivating and horrifying. This dual perspective became a template for modern crime stories. Television critic Alan Sepinwall noted that The Sopranos would not exist without Goodfellas. David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos, adopted this approach, blending brutality with family dynamics and crime, and expanding it into a long-form television series. Goodfellas set a new standard for how crime could be portrayed, influencing not just films, but television as well, shaping the narrative structure of modern storytelling. The visual techniques in Goodfellas have become a foundation for modern cinema. Cinematographer Roger Deakins explained, "Tracking shots, static frames, handheld camera movements, these have transitioned from style choices to basic cinematic grammar. These techniques have been widely adopted in many films after Goodfellas, especially in premium cable TV shows." Deakins noted, "Watch any premium cable television show now and you'll see the DNA of Goodfellas in every episode." One of Goodfellas' significant contributions was its use of pop music, which became integral to the storytelling. The film's innovative integration of music into the narrative added emotional depth and rhythm, influencing how filmmakers use music to enhance storytelling in both films and television. Before Goodfellas, pop music was mainly used as a tool for scene transitions or setting the mood, according to music supervisor Randall Poster. However, after Goodfellas, pop music became a storytelling device, with the songs themselves acting as narrators, reflecting the emotions and moods of the characters. Quentin Tarantino expanded on this approach, but Scorsese was the first to assert that songs could play a crucial role in advancing the story. With Goodfellas, Scorsese felt vindicated after the difficult years following controversial projects like The Last Temptation of Christ, as the success of the film reaffirmed his unique approach to filmmaking and storytelling. The Goodfellas reminded Hollywood of what I could do, Scorsese admitted. The film not only helped him regain recognition, but also provided him with creative capital which he invested in future projects. What many didn't realize was that Goodfellas foreshadowed America's growing fascination with anti-heroes. Scorsese reflected, "We didn't know we were creating a template for the next 30 years of protagonists." Characters who do bad things but remain captivating became a hallmark of the film, setting the stage for future storytelling in both film and television. Goodfellas wasn't just a crime film. It was a revolution in how stories were told, and how acting on screen could be approached, paving the way for complex, morally ambiguous characters to dominate narratives in the decades that followed. From character development, cinematography, and soundtrack to the evolution of acting, Goodfellas has created an enduring legacy not only for cinema, but also for modern films and television shows. Scorsese didn't just make a film, he created a new cinematic language, paving the way for more complex stories and multi-dimensional characters in future works. Characters like Tony Soprano, Walter White, and Don Draper are not only new archetypes in cinema, but also descendants of the moral complexity that Goodfellas portrayed through Henry Hill. These characters, with their flaws, contradictions, and compelling depth, carry forward the legacy of anti-heroes that Goodfellas helped establish, influencing an entire generation of storytellers in both film and TV. The technical innovations in Goodfellas became industry standards, such as the use of static frames, on-screen text, and multiple narrators techniques that editor Thelma Schoonmaker noted were revolutionary at the time. These methods are now considered basic in film education. However, for the real Henry Hill, the success of the film brought unwanted attention. Despite being in witness protection, Hill repeatedly revealed his cover. Nicholas Pileggi, the author of the original book, revealed that Hill once told people in a bar that he was the one portrayed in the film, leading to further complications in his already precarious life. The film's impact on Hill's personal safety highlights the blurred lines between fiction and reality and the price of telling such a raw, truthful story. Scorsese, reflecting on the cultural impact of the film, acknowledged that Goodfellas portrays the corrosive effects of a life of crime along with the spiritual emptiness behind materialism. However, many viewers only saw the excitement and power the film conveyed, overlooking the cautionary message it intended to deliver. Scorsese admitted, "Great art is often misunderstood, but what matters is that 30 years later, we're still discussing it not as a classic or a historical curiosity, but as a vibrant work that continues to communicate its message to audiences." This enduring relevance speaks to the film's depth and its ability to resonate with new generations, making it more than just a snapshot of mafia culture, but a timeless reflection on the consequences of living a life driven by greed and violence. The clearest testament to the film's power comes from the characters themselves. Pileggi shared that the real Henry Hill told him he had difficulty separating his real memories from the image depicted in the film. This is the greatest compliment to what the film crew created. Goodfellas didn't just recreate the life of a gangster, it made it feel even more real than reality itself. The subtlety in character development and storytelling is what made this film a timeless classic, allowing it to transcend the genre and continue to impact audiences decades later. By grounding its portrayal in authenticity and complexity, Goodfellas created an immersive world that remains as vivid and unforgettable as the lives it depicts. Goodfellas is a daring performance where success and disaster lie just a thin line apart. Martin Scorsese and his team gambled their reputations, sometimes even their safety, to tell a story with absolute authenticity. They committed to placing truth over comfort, complexity over simplicity, creating a film that still carries a vibrant, dangerous energy even decades after its release. The film reminds us that the greatest art often comes from the willingness to show people in all their contradictory and uncomfortable realities. In doing so, Goodfellas not only captured the essence of a criminal world, but also explored the depths of human nature, flawed, compelling, and undeniably real, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate with audiences today. If you feel that Goodfellas is a cinematic masterpiece and agree that artistic vision can transform the film industry, leave a 1 in the comments. If you think there are other elements that need to be explored, leave a 0 and share your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next fascinating stories about classic films and exciting disasters in the film industry. Stay tuned for more.